Busted. My fiancé's secret texts exposed. 2 kids involved. The smell of Sunday morning pancakes usually made me smile. Today, it felt like a punch to the gut. Liam and Chloe were already at the table, faces sticky with syrup, Sarah humming along to some Disney tune on the radio. It was the kind of domestic bliss I'd craved for so long. 3 years I'd been with Sarah, 1 engaged, and for the most part, it felt right. Except lately, a knot had been tightening in my stomach, a feeling I couldn't quite shake. It started small. Sarah being more protective of her phone, turning away when she texted, a vague work stuff when I asked who she was talking to. I'm a software engineer, I understand privacy, but this felt different. It felt secretive. Then came the morning I was reaching for her phone to set a timer for the laundry. She was in the shower, singing off-key, and I figured she wouldn't mind. But when I picked it up, a message popped up from an unknown number. Sarah Bear. Only David, her ex-husband and the father of Liam and Chloe, called her that. My blood ran cold. I stared at the message, rereading it, trying to convince myself I was misinterpreting something, anything. Maybe it was a wrong number. Maybe it was an old message that just resurfaced. But deep down, I knew. The shower cut off. I quickly put the phone back, my heart hammering against my ribs. I tried to act normal, grabbing the pancake batter, but my hands were shaking. She came into the kitchen, her hair wrapped in a towel, a genuine smile on her face. "Morning, sleepyhead," she said, kissing me on the cheek. The smell of her shampoo, usually comforting, now felt like a betrayal. I forced a smile. Morning. Pancakes smell amazing. The day crawled by. I couldn't focus at work, my mind replaying the message over and over. I tried to brush it off, telling myself I was being paranoid. David was a constant presence in our lives by necessity. Shared custody, school events, doctor's appointments, he was always around. And he wasn't exactly the easiest person to deal with. Successful lawyer, used to getting his way, and always a subtle dig at me, the stepdad. But an affair? That was a whole different level. That night, I couldn't sleep. Sarah was next to me, her breathing even and soft. I slipped out of bed and went to the living room, my mind racing. I needed to know. I needed to be sure. The next few weeks were a blur of paranoia and clandestine investigation. I started paying closer attention to Sarah's phone habits. She was always texting, always smiling at her screen, but always evasive when I asked who she was talking to. She started going out more often, running errands late at night. One evening, I accidentally deleted the contact for the unknown number. I wanted to see how she would react. That night, I heard her whispering on the phone in the bathroom. I pressed my ear against the door. "I told you, I can't just disappear. The kids. He's starting to suspect something. I know, but it's complicated." I couldn't hear the other end of the conversation, but it was enough. It was David. It had to be. I told Emily, my best friend from college. She was the only one I could trust with this. She listened patiently, her face growing grim as I recounted my suspicions. "Mark, this is awful," she said, hugging me tightly. "You have to confront her. But be careful. Don't let your emotions get the best of you." Easier said than done. Following Emily's advice, I tried to play it cool, but the tension was building inside me like a pressure cooker. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, and I was constantly snapping at Liam and Chloe. They noticed something was wrong. Liam, especially, seemed to sense the change in me. He started acting out at school, getting into fights with other kids. Chloe, usually a bubbly and affectionate little girl, became clingier, constantly wanting to sit on my lap. I knew I had to do something. One evening, while Sarah was at her book club, I decided to take a risk. I checked our phone bill online. There it was, the unknown number, with multiple calls and texts to Sarah's phone. I copied the number and did a reverse phone lookup online. It came back to a prepaid burner phone, registered under a fake name. I had my proof. When Sarah came home, I was waiting for her. I held up the phone bill and the burner phone information. care to explain this? I asked, my voice dangerously calm. She paled. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me, Sarah, I said, my voice rising. I know about the burner phone. I know you've been talking to David. She started to cry. It's not what you think, she sobbed. He's been going through a hard time. He needed someone to talk to. And that someone is you? The woman who's supposed to be marrying me? I was practically yelling now. He's my ex-husband, Mark. He's the father of my children. I can't just ignore him when he needs help. So, you're helping him by sleeping with him? The words came out like a venomous hiss. She recoiled as if I'd slapped her. No. It's not like that. He's just manipulative. He knows how to get to me. And you let him? You let him manipulate you into betraying me? She didn't answer. She just stood there, crying, her face a mask of guilt and shame. I suggested couples therapy. I was desperate. I loved her, I loved the kids, and I didn't want to lose them. Sarah reluctantly agreed. The therapy sessions were excruciating. We talked about our pasts, our insecurities, our expectations for the future. It became clear that Sarah had deep-seated issues with self-worth and a lingering attachment to David. She admitted that she still cared about him, but insisted that she loved me more. I wanted to believe her, but the doubt was always there, gnawing at me. One afternoon, I decided to surprise Sarah at work. I brought her flowers and lunch, hoping to inject some romance back into our relationship. But when I got to her office, her car wasn't there. I called her, but she didn't answer. I drove around the block and saw her car parked a few streets away. And then I saw them. Sarah and David, sitting in his car, talking intensely. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I could see the way they were looking at each other. There was a connection there, a familiarity that I couldn't ignore. I parked my car and walked towards them, my heart pounding in my chest. As I got closer, I saw them embrace. It wasn't a friendly hug. It was a passionate, lingering embrace. I turned around and walked back to my car, tears streaming down my face. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. All the doubts, all the suspicions, all the fears had been confirmed. She was still sleeping with him. I confronted her that night. I didn't yell, I didn't scream. I just calmly told her what I had seen. She didn't deny it this time. She just started crying again. It was a mistake, she said. The tension in the house was unbearable. Liam and Chloe were constantly on edge, sensing the strain between us. I knew I couldn't keep living like this. It was Liam's birthday. We had planned a big surprise party for him at the park. I went through with it, trying to put on a brave face for the kids. But inside, I was crumbling. As the party was winding down, Tom, one of David's friends, came up to me. He was a bit of a blowhard, always trying to impress people with his connections. So, Mark, he said, clapping me on the back, heard you guys are going on a family vacation soon. David's been telling everyone how excited he is. The words hit me like a ton of bricks. Family vacation? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Yeah, to Cancun. David's been planning it for months. Says it's going to be a real bonding experience for everyone. I looked over at Sarah, who was talking to another parent. Her face was flushed and she was laughing. Something snapped inside me. I walked over to Sarah and grabbed her arm. We need to talk, I said, my voice cold and hard. I pulled her away from the other parents and led her to a secluded corner of the park. What's going on, Mark? She asked, her eyes wide with concern. Cancun, I said. Tell me about Cancun. She paled. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me, Sarah, I said, my voice rising. Tom just told me that you and David are planning a family vacation to Cancun. Is that true? She started to cry again. It's not what you think, she sobbed. David planned it, not me. I didn't even know about it until yesterday. So you're telling me that David planned a family vacation to Cancun without your knowledge, and you're just going along with it? I asked, my voice dripping with sarcasm. I didn't want to upset the kids, she said. They're really excited about it. And what about me, Sarah? I yelled. Am I not part of this family? Am I just some kind of placeholder until you and David decide to get back together? She didn't answer. I couldn't take it anymore. I turned to the other parents. I turned to Liam and Chloe and shouted, "She's been sleeping with him, with David." All this time, Sarah broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. Liam started crying, confused and scared. Chloe clung to my leg, her eyes wide with fear. David rushed over, his face red with anger. He grabbed me by the collar and shoved me against a tree. "You son of a bitch," he screamed. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Emily intervened, pulling David away from me. "Stop it, David. You're not helping anything." Chaos ensued. Guests left, Liam ran off crying, and Chloe just stood there, staring at us with a look of utter confusion and heartbreak. I packed a bag and left the house. I couldn't bear to look at Sarah or David. I spent the night at Emily's apartment, trying to make sense of what had happened. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and utterly heartbroken. Sarah called me repeatedly, begging me to come back. I ignored her calls and texts. I didn't know what to do. I loved her, but I couldn't trust her. I loved the kids, but I didn't know if I could stay in a relationship with their mother after what she had done. I called a lawyer, trying to figure out my rights and responsibilities towards Liam and Chloe. Legally, I was nothing to them, but emotionally, they were my family. A few days later, I went back to the house to collect my remaining belongings. Sarah was waiting for me. She looked exhausted and defeated. "Mark, please," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "I'm so sorry. I made a mistake. I still love you." I stared at her, my heart aching. "How could you do this to me, Sarah?" I asked. "How could you betray me like this?" She started to cry again. "It just happened," she said. "David was always there, and I was vulnerable, and it just happened." "When did it start, Sarah?" I asked. "When did you start sleeping with him again?" She hesitated for a moment, then said, "A few months before our engagement. It's been on and off ever since." I felt like I had been punched in the gut, again. "There's something else," she said, her voice trembling. I'm pregnant." I stared at her, speechless. "I don't know if it's yours or David's," she whispered. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. I couldn't feel anything but a searing pain in my chest. I turned around and walked out of the house, leaving Sarah standing alone on the porch, her future, and the future of our family, hanging precariously in the balance. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew I couldn't stay there. Not now, not ever. The only thing I knew for sure was nothing in my life would ever be the same.